Watch all three big topics in this video. The first one is crazy quarantine laws in Canada. They are insane. You have to see this. The second is Twitter's trying to block the National Archive from posting Trump's tweets, essentially deleting, hiding, and distorting history. And the third story is even PolitiFact fact-checked Joe Biden's lies about the Second Amendment, where they rated him mostly false on his blabbering about gun shows. So let's get started. Right on the Canada government website, they talk about mandatory quarantine or isolation. All travelers entering Canada, regardless of citizenship, must follow testing and quarantine requirements. And without wasting your time, the craziest part is planning your mandatory quarantine. Federal quarantine applies for travelers entering Canada. If you can enter Canada and you have no symptoms, you must quarantine for a minimum of 14 days. At this time, you are not excluded from quarantine even if you have been vaccinated for COVID-19, tested negative for COVID-19, recovered from COVID-19. Your quarantine period includes a mandatory 3-night prepaid booking at a government authorized hotel at your own cost. Even if you are negative, recovered, vaccinated, you still have to quarantine and you have to pay for it. This is absolutely insane. I don't understand how people don't get it yet. Are you kidding me? You think this is justified? You think this is normal, forcing families to spend thousands of dollars to essentially detain or enslave themselves? And for the naysayers, right on Google out of Oxford Dictionary, enslave means to cause someone to lose their freedom of choice or action. Forcing them to quarantine, even if they do literally everything that you told them to do and don't have COVID-19, this is psychotic. God bless my Canadian followers, and please don't let America be Canada. Folks, this is tyranny. Anywhere where the government has too much control, the citizens are too liberal, or operating under this phony 2, 3, or 4 party system where the Conservative Party can't conserve anything, don't fall for this trap. We're lucky to be in America. This is crazy. The second story I want to talk about will ruffle a few feathers because National Archives can't resurrect Trump's tweets. Twitter says the social media company says its permanent suspension of the former president's personal account means a federally preserved version will also be blocked from the platform. And this is how they distort history. They'll allow thousands upon thousands of blue checkmark journalists, most of them who have no integrity and I would argue soul, can talk about him, lie about him, smear him, take shots at him. And even me, I've been criticizing him a lot recently because what he did with the lockdowns and all this medical tyranny, I believe was a total betrayal, but I want him to be able to speak for himself, and I want his words and his actions and historical context of what actually happened to be there front and center, of course. But Twitter doesn't feel that way. And what's even crazier about it is what conservatives need to hear me out on, because even when you win elections, you lose the country and you can't seem to conserve anything. Gab is a Christian-owned, conservative-owned social media company that's trying to rival Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and create their own social media platform for free speech that can't be censored. Here you can read a little bit about it. Gab CEO restores tweets President Trump posted before Twitter deleted them. In what seemed like an impossible feat, Gab CEO Andrew Torba restored in their platform all the contents deleted from President Donald Trump's Twitter account. He essentially archived Trump's tweets. Very, very important. They're trying to delete history. You can buy books from Karl Marx, Stalin, Hitler, Mao, most world leaders on Amazon, and you should be able to, because you should be able to read what they said and get real history from the source. But they don't want you to do that with President Trump. They're trying to destroy history, and Gab has basically archived history. Important. So why is the governor of Texas, one of the most American-hearted states, I would argue the heart of America, why is Governor Abbott trying to smear, deplatform, and destroy Gab, the Christian conservative social media app that has archived Trump's tweets, as other social media companies are trying to delete them?
Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas, and certainly do not represent Texas values. What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Copeland that fights anti-Semitism in Texas.
Isn't that odd to you? He's sitting in Texas with an Israeli flag flying behind his head saying we need to take down the Christian conservative social media app that has Trump's tweets archived. And this is a trend on the right wing, whether people want to realize it or not. And I'm writing a whole book about the deception on both parties, because when you argue with the lies of the left wing in the Democratic Party, they call you a racist, they call you a sexist, they call you a xenophobe. They try to say basic things that dozens of countries have, like voter ID, is Jim Crow and the most racist thing they've ever heard. Every which way when they push their agenda forward, including what I would consider covering up for human trafficking at the border, because it's a huge issue at the border of Mexico. Kids are being killed and raped. They cover all that up and say, you're a racist, you just don't like Hispanics if you believe in border security. It's not only a lie, it's a dangerous lie that's hurting women and children every day, but that's another story. The point I'm trying to get is they use racism, sexism, xenophobia, anti-this, anti-that, denier, all of these words to try to make you look like a horrible person or shut shut you down, silence you, and censor you so they don't have to debate you. Science, 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 they say, but they're not even using science. Do they care about the data of how Texas isn't doing nearly as bad as they thought they would be doing? It's because they're not following science. They're liars, they're frauds, and I can't believe they're getting away with all of this. But the right wing does that with anti-Semitism. They use this as a broad brush, and if you can't see that with the governor of Texas, instead of focusing his energy taking on big tech, trying to destroy a Christian conservative application standing up for free speech, you think there's not hate speech on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube? This is the same thing that they did with Parler. There have been literal live streamed murders on the major social media applications, but nobody ever says anything about that, and then you say hate speech and try to take down your own? Governor Abbott is a fraud, and most of the Republican Party does the same thing, no matter how much I like them or the states that they run. Trump passed an executive order trying to make it harder to boycott Israel. Ron DeSantis passed legislation making it harder to speak about certain things that they would call anti-Semitism. If you want to know the rules before you call everybody an anti-Semite, go to the State Department website, Google State Department anti-Semitism, and check out the anti-Semitism laws on the State Department website that are being peddled by Democrats, Republicans, major censorship and anti-free speech groups, and it's mainstream in the Conservative Party. Ben Shapiro parrots some of these anti-Semitism laws, saying it's anti-Semitism to suggest a Jewish American has dual loyalty to Israel, even though there's multiple groups, organizations, donors, and people who proudly broadcast, honestly such as himself, that they do love Israel, which makes total sense. I have no problem with it. Why wouldn't Ben Shapiro love Israel? But the deception to then try to pass a speech law and say it's hate speech to even say that they're doing it is next level fraudulence. And not only that, it's anti-constitutional. Just look into it yourself. I don't want to harp on it all day. All I have is love for all the people of the world, all race, religions, and cultures. Good people are good people. People with soul connect with me in Israel, in Palestine, in America, in Nigeria. That's just what it is here on my channel. It's all love. So don't try to frame and lie about me like the left and right does when you bust through their fake narratives and illusions. But I would say look into it, because if you don't understand the Texas governor trying to destroy the Christian conservative app where Trump's tweets are archived, if that doesn't hit home to you, you got to figure this stuff out. There's a reason that even when you win, you lose. And the sooner you figure that out, the more freedom you'll conserve, because it's slipping away in America. And when we lose free speech, we're going to end up like Canada, we're going to end up like the UK, and we're just going to be sitting ducks. So protect the First Amendment. That's what I'm doing. Speaking of amendments, the Second Amendment, I believe, is very important as well. And it was put there for a reason, and America's a great country for it, and hundreds of millions of people in America appreciate it. Joe Biden's essentially infringing upon it while saying he's not infringing upon it, while saying it's not absolute, and he's just rambling and blabbering. We get it, bro. You want to do some sort of gun regulation, but it's pretty sad. Even PolitiFact, which I would not consider the most nonpartisan or objective fact checkers out there, most of the fact checkers are really just controlling the narrative so you don't critically think and by a mistake get the right decision. I truly think they're trying to make the truth illegal. But with that being said, even PolitiFact knew in today's gun policy address, President Biden exaggerated about background checks at gun shows, mostly false. Sheesh, I hope they keep doing this type of reporting, because if they're going to call out exaggerations, I would think that that's almost every politician on the planet, especially in the party that they usually protect, the Democratic Party. Listen, I'm a nice guy. I'm a liberal type of guy where it's all love for me, but I've never seen so much emotion. I've never seen so much exaggeration. I mean, you try to get voter identification and they literally act like you're bringing it back to the 1920s. I mean, thank you, PolitiFact, is what I'm trying to say. Let's not spoil a good thing, right? And before I leave, I understand, I guess, the perspective of common sense gun legislation, because at a certain point in my life, I probably could have leaned that way and said, I believe in the Second Amendment, but maybe not this and maybe not that. But the more they lock down, the more they quarantine, the more they treat me like an animal, the more they treat me like a prisoner, the more they're taking away my freedom, the more I could see that these phony experts who call themselves experts, who are really just power-hungry politician bureaucrats who slithered their way to the top for money, power, fame, and seem to not care about science and data at all. All they do is lie, all they do is control, all they do is censor. But I don't want anything that Joe Biden's selling, because there's a reason that guns were selling like hotcakes last year. It's because when you treat people like this, like dirt, it reminds them, rightfully so, of World War I, World War II, and any of the genocidal moments in history where government got too big for its britches, dehumanized its own citizens, and started throwing them in camps, gulags, and detainment facilities. I'm talking about citizens citizens who are literally just trying to feed their family and open their business. You're treating them like prisoners. So people have a right to protect the Second Amendment, and it should be no surprise. These people are not stupid, but they use the media to program people and try to make you stupid. Because as much as they act like they want you healthy, what's better for them than a fat, programmed, dumbed down human being who eats just enough pharmacy pills to give them billions of dollars in revenue, eats all the crummy products they advertise on television, and never figures out the deception that they are blasting to you constantly on all mass media, in the music industry, in the television industry, now just ridiculously in the sports industry, and all over social media. And anytime somebody shines above that with truth, justice, and real reporting, they tend to silence, censor, delete, and rig the algorithm so people can't see it. These people are social engineers. They know exactly what they're doing. It's time that you know what they're doing. God bless you guys. Have a beautiful day. I hope you appreciate this video. And the reason I'm allowed to be here independent, honest, and not controlled or puppeted by anybody is because of a few things. Patreon.com/raretalk. I answer all the messages there, and people who support monthly have really given me strength and stability. DreamRare.com, where I have these new white hats that I'm wearing, except they're going to be a little bit bigger. They're in production right now. I'll show you a picture soon. These black beanies, God bless black beanies. These are them. This is a production facility, United States, made in the USA, stitched in the USA, warehoused in the USA. I'm excited to get these out. The pre-sale's been on. It's in production now. You can order them now. White hats, black beanies, way too jacked for the gulag tank tops. I'm not going to the gulag, not in Canada, not here. I'm sorry. That's my song, Way Too Jacked for the Gulag, and I mean it. We're getting jacked out here and getting healthy and strong. They act like they want you that, but I think they just want me jacked up on pharmacy products and obedient. And these is thinking illegal tank tops as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much for sharing, getting my message out there, even when they try to censor the truth. Have a beautiful day, and let's free humanity. There's nothing better than the human spirit, and they will never destroy that. God bless us, and have a good day.
I'm way too jacked for the gulag. I don't trust y'all like I don't trust the moon man. Is he talking MTV or La Luna? The more they show, it's looking like a true man. Get what I'm saying? Everything is zoomed in, left, right, trap. They set it up like a crew man. I'll be too good at rapping not to do this. Got 600 million views without the music. Hey, messing with me? Y'all don't really wanna start. I got soul and spirit in my heart. My mind faster, sharper than the dart. I ain't got a part. Americana, I'm a legend. I'ma stay until it's heaven. I would rather go out on my feet than have to bow down to the devil. I will not stand.